Hi children, we've got a very special story here about kindness. The name is The Smartest Giant in Town. George was a giant, the scruffiest giant in town. He always wore the same pair of old brown sandals and the same old patched up gown. Look at George. I wish I wasn't the scruffiest giant in town, he said sadly. But one day, George noticed a new shop. It was full of smart clothes, so he bought, let's see what he bought, a smart shirt, a smart pair of trousers, a smart belt, a smart stripy tie, some smart socks with diamonds up the sides, and a pair of smart shiny shoes. Wow, look how nice that is. Now I'm the smartest giant in town, he said proudly. George left his old clothes behind in the shop. He was about to go home when he heard a sound. On the pavement stood a giraffe. He was sniffing sadly. "What's the matter?" asked George. Look at the giraffe. "It's my neck," said the giraffe. "It's so very long and so very cold. I wish I had a long warm scarf." Oh, the giraffe is so upset. I wonder what George is going to do about it. "Cheer up," said George, and he took off his stripy tie. "It didn't match my socks anyway," he said, as he wound it around and around the giraffe's neck. It made a wonderful scarf. "Thank you," said the giraffe. Ah, look, the giraffe. He's so happy now. As George strode towards home, he sang to himself. "My tie is a scarf for a cool giraffe, but look me up and down. I'm the smartest giant in town." Oh, look, he's so happy. George came to a river. On a boat stood a goat who was bleating loudly. "What's the matter?" asked George. "It's my sail," said the goat. It blew away in a storm. I wish I had a strong new sail for my boat." Oh, look at the goat. He is so upset. "Cheer up," said George, and he took off his new white shirt. "It kept coming untucked anyway," he said, as he tied it to the mast of the goat's boat. It made a magnificent sail. "Thank you," said the goat. Look at George now. George strode on singing to himself. "My tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe, my shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat, but look me up and down, I'm the smartest giant in town." George came to a tiny ruined house. Beside the house stood a white mouse with lots of baby mice. They were all squeaking. "What's the matter?" asked George. "It's our house," squeaked the mother mouse. "It burnt down and now we have nowhere to live." "I wish we had a nice new house." Oh, look at the mouse and the mice. They are so sad and the house is all burnt down. "Cheer up," said George, and he took off one of his shiny shoes. "It was giving me blisters anyway," he said. As the mouse and her baby scrambled inside, the shoe made a perfect home for them. "Thank you," they squealed. Wow, look at that house. It was perfect. They look so happy now. George had to hop along the road now, but he didn't mind. As he hopped, he sang to himself. "My tie is a scarf for a cool giraffe, my shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat, my shoe's a house for a little white mouse, but look me up and down, I'm the smartest giant in town." George came to a campsite. Beside a tent stood a fox who was crying. What's the matter? Asked George. Oh, look at the fox. It's my sleeping bag, said the fox. I dropped it in a puddle. I wish I had a warm, dry sleeping bag. Ooh, what is George going to do now? Cheer up, said George, and he took off one of his socks with diamonds up the sides. It was tickling my toes anyway, he said. As the fox snuggled into it, it made a very fine sleeping bag. Thank you, said the fox. Oh, look at the fox now. He's got a nice sleeping bag. George hopped on, singing to himself. My tie is a scarf for a cool giraffe, my shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat, my shoe is a house for a little white mouse, one of my socks is a bed for a fox, but look me up and down, I'm the smartest giant in town. He is still happy. He's got no sock, no shoe, no shirt, no tie, and he's still happy. Wow. George came to a big squelchy bog. Beside the bog stood a dog. He was howling. What's the matter? Asked George. It's this bog, said the dog. I need to get across, but I keep getting stuck in the mud. He's so upset. I wish there was a safe drive path. Cheer up, said George, and he took off his smart new belt. It was squashing my tummy anyway, he said. As he laid it down over the bog, it made an excellent path. Thank you, said the dog. Wow, look at that path now. That was very clever. The wind started to blow, but George didn't mind. He hopped on, singing to himself. My tie is a scarf for a cool giraffe, my shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat, my shoe is a house for a little white mouse, one of my socks is a bed for a fox, my belt helped a dog who was crossing a bog, but my trousers are falling down. I'm the coldest giant in town. Look at that. Suddenly George felt sad and shivery and not at all smart. He stood on one foot and thought, I'll have to go back to the shop and buy some more clothes, he decided. He turned around and hopped all the way back to the shop. But when he got there, it was closed. Oh no, cried George. He sank down onto the doorstep and a tear ran down his nose. He felt as sad as all the animals he had met on his way home. Then, out of the corner of his eye, he saw a bag with something familiar poking out of the top. Look at the bag. George took a closer look. My gown, he yelled. My dear old gown and sandals. George put them on. They felt wonderfully comfortable. I'm the coziest giant in town, he cried, and he danced back home along the road. He's back to his old gowns and sandals, but he looks happy. He's still happy. Outside his front door stood all the animals he had helped. They were carrying an enormous present. Look at that. Come on, George, they said, open it. George untied the ribbon. Inside was a beautiful gold paper crown and a card. Look inside the card, George, said the animals. George put the crown on his head and opened the card. I wonder what it's going to say inside. Inside it said, your tie is a scarf for a cool giraffe. Your shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat. Your shoe is a house for a little white mouse. One of your socks is a bed for a fox. Your belt helped a dog who was crossing the bog. So here is a very fine crown to go with the sandals and gown of the kindest giant in town. The end. So children, this was a very, very nice book, wasn't it? The story is all about being kind. This giant, he just bought himself all of these beautiful new clothes. But when he saw that someone else needed it, did he say no? No, he didn't. He said, oh, I can help. Let me give you my tie. Let me give you my shirt. Let me give you my shoe, my sock. And he was still happy. He was still singing along. And when he had to wear his old gown again, he was still happy. And all of the other animals were very grateful. They were saying thank you. And they called him the kindest giant in town. Okay? So I hope you all learnt a very good lesson about being kind and that you enjoyed the story as much as I did.